Well, I'm Jim Longworth. Welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you from the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on, and later on is when the roundtable will show up and get into all sorts of controversies, so we hope you'll stay tuned for that. We also have a vaccine update from Novant Health, all that and much more. But where we're going to start is talking about backpacks for kids. And we don't have 3 kids here, but we do have 3 adults, and they're going to tell us all about this great program on my immediate right. David Daggett, attorney with Daggett Schuler. His partner, Griff Schuler, is here with him as well. And the two of these gentlemen have brought a special guest with them. First-time visitor to Triad Today, Mark Batten. He's Executive Director of Community Engagement for the Winston-Salem and Forsyth County Schools. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, guys. David, let me start with you. What is the Back to School Backpack Program, and how many years has Daggett Schuler been involved?
So the Back to School Backpack Program, it's a combined effort with the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools and the Winston-Salem Police Department. And I want to say right at the beginning, partnerships like those are invaluable in our community, and they've really made our community better. It's fun to see what Mark and his community engagement team have done through the pandemic to keep everything on track and try to make things as positive as possible. And quite frankly, there's an energy coming out of the school system that I'm just proud of what they're doing.
I just think that's great.
During these challenging times. So the backpack program is backpacks completely stuffed, and maybe Griff can show you everything inside.
Yeah.
So that kids that are underprivileged can get off to a good start. Research has shown that the start of your school year can be the most important time in a young person's life if they get started on a good foot.
Right. Now, Griff, what all would they find in this backpack?
Yeah, so we took the list from the Forsyth County school system, and the backpack has everything they need: ruler, paper, folders.
All the essentials.
All the essentials that's on the list. We even have earplugs this year.
How about
special
earbuds?
Yeah, that was a special request for this year.
I don't know about technology, but the kids love those earbuds, don't they? And they have them. I see you've got one in different color there.
Well, it's become part of the educational process.
Yeah.
And it's needed.
Now, Mark, how important, and David sort of said this before, but how important are these kind of initiatives, the backpack? Why are they important, and why are you doing it?
Yes, so they are super essential, and we cannot express enough gratitude for our thousands of partnerships that we have across the district, supplying school supplies, masks, tutoring, our volunteers, the time and energy that they provide is just wonderful. Helps get our students and families off on a great start for the school year, so as they go through the year, they have the ability to really succeed and thrive in what they're trying to accomplish as a student.
Yeah, you know, I've heard this before in other discussions we've had with various superintendents and educators, you know, especially when it comes time to a tax referendum or something like that. But even in a community involvement thing, they might say, well, I don't have any kids in public school. Why do I care about backpack? Why do I need to do, you know? But your answer to that is, if you get involved now, it helps later. I mean, why?
Because the kids are our future. They're our future leaders, our future politicians, our future lawyers, artists, authors, whatever they are. They're influencing thought for what's to come in the future.
That's right.
Griff, what kind of feedback do you guys get over the years of doing this?
Well, it's really interesting, Jim. We go to each school. The administrators, the principals, help us select the pockets of underprivileged students that need these backpacks. And what they have given us feedback on is it gives these students the opportunity to have something brand new that puts them and launches them forward for the entire year. So if we can do that from the very beginning of the year, these students are on the right path.
David, there's so many things that you and Griff and your team support, and you can't do everything. Why was this, you've already sort of alluded to it a little bit, but why this particular, why the backpack?
Well, I think Mark hit it, is that all of these different pieces of the community coming together, helping our students so that we have a brighter future for our communities is important. And quite frankly, Griff and I want to be part of that, and we want to do something positive.
Right. I think this is just great. Before we lose time, I want to put up a couple things just to give a plug in for Mark's school system website. WSFCS is on screen, .k12.nc.us. That's the general website. And of course, if you should ever need David and Griff and his team for anything, you can go to the website daggettschulerlaw.com or call 336-724-1234. And how many years is this for the backpack program?
I think it's 8.
8 years?
We were trying to count the other day.
Yeah, I think it's 8.
It's a tradition.
I guess, and lots of students served by this. Mark, I appreciate you coming on the show for the first time and coming with these gentlemen, and thanks for all you do in the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all your
All right,
support.
guys.
Yes.
We'll be right back. I know on Triad Today, it's been a while since we've had a vaccine update from Dr. David Priest at Novant Health, so let's do that right now.
Hey, good to see you again. It's been a few weeks since we've had this briefing. A lot has changed over the course of just a couple of weeks. So we'll start with vaccines today. As a reminder, last week, the FDA and the ACIP, which is the group from the CDC that reviews vaccinations, had votes to amend the emergency use authorization for both the Pfizer and Moderna COVID-19 vaccines to allow for the use of an additional dose in certain immunocompromised individuals. Those individuals include those who've had organ transplants or those on immunosuppressing medications, patients who've had cancer or undergoing cancer treatment, those with untreated HIV infection, if you have an immunodeficiency and some other chronic medical conditions. The CDC and FDA acted on this because they have data that for those groups, immunity could wane over time, and it's worthwhile to give them a third dose of vaccine. And we know that sometimes these kinds of guidelines can be confusing, and there are individuals who may wonder if they fit into one of these groups because there's sometimes some gray area in these kind of diagnostic categories. So we would encourage people to talk to their personal physician about whether they would benefit from a third dose. I think that the point of this update and guideline from FDA and CDC was to say there are very particular individuals with significant immune system issues who would benefit from dosing, third dose. And we know that many individuals who've been vaccinated are interested in getting a third dose of vaccine, and we know that's particularly important as the Delta variant has spread. Novant Health and our community partners are operationalizing the third dose this week. So there are a few logistical and operational details we're working through to make that happen, and we'll have details to follow on that. I do anticipate in the coming weeks, the FDA will give guidance on a third vaccination dose for everyone, regardless of age or medical history, and we'll be prepared to administer vaccines for those individuals as well. Vaccines continue to hold up well in preventing hospitalization and death from COVID-19, including the Delta variant. The CDC notes that over 99% of those who are vaccinated have not had a breakthrough case resulting in hospitalization or death. They also note that 96.7% of deaths this summer are in unvaccinated individuals. The vaccine remains incredibly effective at keeping you out of the hospital, and it tells us that we should all get vaccinated to protect those around us who are immunocompromised and need further protection. To date, we've administered more than 530,000 doses of vaccine. That's approximately 270,000 individuals who we have fully vaccinated as an organization. As a reminder, all 4 of our primary vaccination sites, except walk-ins or appointments for first or second dose, getvaccinated.org has all the information on where and how to do both. We also offer vaccine around 100 primary adult and pediatric clinics. So if you're a Novant Health patient, you can call your medical home and schedule a vaccination there. Moving to our hospital data, we've seen a stark increase in the number of hospitalizations across our system in the last few weeks. We have roughly 12 times the number of inpatients with COVID than we had 6 or 7 weeks ago. Today, the average age of our admitted patients is younger. We had an average age at different parts of the pandemic of 61 years old, and that average age was down to 44 years old last month. The average age this month in August is 49. And there are a few reasons for that. More 61-year-olds have been vaccinated than 44-year-olds typically in our communities. And the Delta variant is also far more contagious. Remember, early in the pandemic, the typical COVID patient might infect 2 or 3 other individuals around them, but with the Delta variant, they are likely to infect 5 to 9 individuals around them. Today, 91% of our admitted COVID-19 patients are not vaccinated. Of the 9% or so of our admitted COVID-19 patients that are vaccinated, they have a different patient profile than our unvaccinated patients. On average, those individuals are 77 years old. They were often vaccinated very early in the pandemic. They typically have a number of other chronic medical problems, as we mentioned earlier, around the updated vaccine guidance. So it just speaks to the need for boosters in that age group. As our hospitalizations have increased, so has our utilization of our ICUs. Today, our ICUs are at about 97% capacity for adults, very reminiscent of where we were in January or February of this year.
Our thanks to Dr. Priest for that updated information. And if you want to check out more information, go to the website www.novanthealth.org. We'll be right back after this. Today, and always glad we can spend a few minutes with some of the good folks, and I call them heroes, that work at Mountain Valley Hospice and Palliative Care. One of them's here with us right now. Christy Bird is Director of Inpatient Units at Mountain Valley Hospice and Palliative Care. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about volunteers for a minute. How important, I know that we have lots of different kind of folks on the show with all sorts of industries, and people talk about volunteers and how important they are. How important are volunteers where hospice is concerned?
They're vitally important to what we do in hospice. I call them our bread and butter. They, help provide companionship to our patients and families, support us in our inpatient units and in home care. And, just because of that, they bring a lot of joy and positivity and their own experiences to those who are at the end of life. What
kind of volunteers are you looking for? I mean, what traits or characteristics should I have if I'm going to call up or go on the website or whatever and say, I'd like to be a volunteer? What do you... And most people would make good volunteers, but what are you looking for?
So we really are looking for that person who's compassionate, empathetic, can really see themselves in the shoes of our patients and families and provide that good support to them.
And just so people understand at home, and we've talked about this before on some of these segments, that most people will receive hospice care from Christy and her team in their own home. But there are 2 hospice homes that are operated by her team. And so would the volunteers you're looking for be sort of assigned to help interact with patients and families at the 2 hospice homes or in people's homes?
So we're looking for volunteers that would be willing to do both. So there might be volunteers who prefer to work with our patients in their homes, and that's okay. And there's those that prefer to work in our inpatient units and some that cross over.
Now, what if I say, well, Christy, I saw you on TV talking about this, and I kind of like to volunteer, but there's some things I'm not good at. Maybe, what kinds of things can I do as a volunteer? What can I choose from?
Sure. So we can all sit and be with someone. And that's really one of the best things our volunteers do is provide that companionship and that respite support to the caregiver. In our inpatient units, they can provide that same type of support and help tend to patient needs. But we're also looking for volunteers who could do administrative work or bring other talents, massage therapy, pet therapy, all music talents.
Oh, I'm glad, before I forget, I'm glad you mentioned pets, and you also talked about respite care. Do you still have the Pet Peace of Mind service? What is that all about? Tell people.
Sure. So we have our Pet Peace of Mind program where we assist patients in helping take care of their pets as they're near an end of life. And if they need placement for their pets, we're going to try to help them find a home for that pet so they don't have to worry.
Yeah, I know as a pet lover, I've talked to people in hospice care. They're on their mind. What's going to happen to my friend,
Absolutely.
Furry friend that I've got. Before we run out of time, you also sort of connected and not connected, but I wanted to ask you about the We Honor Vets program. Is that still up and running?
Absolutely. We are part of the We Honor Veterans program. And with our volunteers, we love to have those veteran volunteers that have served in the military. We try to connect our veteran volunteers with our veteran patients because there's nothing like that person who has that comradeship and an understanding of what they have been through when they served in the military.
Can really relate to them.
Absolutely.
So even if you have a volunteer who was in the Navy and a patient who was in the Marines, they won't fight, they'll just talk.
No, they'll talk. They will connect. It's wonderful to see.
I think that's great. Up on screen, mtnvalleyhospice.org is the website. Please check that out for more information. It'll have phone numbers on there. You can call and you can ask about the volunteer program. You can make donations. And if you have a loved one who might need hospice care, don't wait. Get in touch with the team. Christy, thanks for everything.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and as you know, we frequently throughout the weeks talk about health issues, important ones. What we haven't talked about is health education, and that's important too. We have 2 guests with us who are going to help us with that topic. On my right, Amanda Martin, Assistant Professor of Biology and Director of the Public Health Program at Carolina University. And her partner in crime here today is Stephen Kennedy, and Steve is Assistant Professor of Chemistry and Physics, 2 of my best subjects, for Carolina University. Welcome to both of you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I'm intimidated by both of you. I did not do well with any of these things. Amanda, let me start with you. Tell us about the public health programs, because I don't know if people know a lot about that, and why you're excited to be involved in them.
Yeah, so the public health program at Carolina University, well, at any university, is fairly new. When you don't talk about public health, it's because everything's going well. And we are in the middle of a pandemic, and so we're hearing a lot about it. So the topic in itself is becoming a little more popular, and more programs are sprouting up. At Carolina University, we offer 2 programs in public health, the 4-year undergraduate program, it's a Bachelor of Science program, and a 2-year Master's in Science in Public
Well,
Health.
give me an example of maybe a couple courses that somebody might take under that.
So we start with just an introduction to public health, but then we specialize in courses such as epidemiology, which is the study of disease, human disease. We have courses in social and behavioral public health, so looking at it from a perspective of community health, changing of behavior, including programming classes on how to reach the general public and get buy-in from the general public on public health related issues for that specific community.
Well, I know that the president, Dr. Pettis at Carolina University is real big on having courses that help lead to careers.
Absolutely.
And not in the long term, but come out of there and have a career. So is there a lot of demand for these kinds of jobs in the health education field?
Yeah, so as you can expect, healthcare is the #1 employer in the United States, but that also includes doctors and nurses, which is a medical profession within the public health sector. But the actual community specialists, those that are doing the legwork, the epidemiologists behind the scenes, those that are hired by the CDC, they only make up about 125,000 jobs in the US, which is about a 250,000 person deficit.
Okay.
So it's
we need 'em.
expected, so it's expected that the public health sector, especially community sector, is going to grow about 10 to 21% in the next couple of years.
Steve, you sent me an email that said something about that you're involved in an interdisciplinary program. What does that mean?
Yes. So it's like a collection of science/math-based courses. We're sort of trying to get these programs to grow and eventually possibly turn into majors for themselves. But right now we have them lumped under the interdisciplinary studies heading. And so that's sort of my department.
Now, does this help as you're doing this sort of coordination and everything, whether it's somebody who wants to be a doctor, a nurse, somebody who wants to go into epidemiology, they need these kind of things, right? So,
Right. So I focus on like general scientific literacy, which I think is really important for the workforce. A lot of the job market today is multidisciplinary and requires a lot of collaboration. And so even if a person is not in a scientific field per se, it's likely that their job will touch some other aspects.
Yeah, they can specialize if they want to, but they've still got to have that general knowledge. Amanda, very quickly before time runs out, what kind of feedback are you getting? Do you think you're going to get from all this?
So, excitement more than anything. Public health, as Steve mentioned, is extremely interdisciplinary. So
That
you can
it's
do
finally
pretty much.
available.
It's finally available. You can do so many different things with a public health degree. Everything from being those leg workers, knocking on doors, doing contact tracing, all the way through to becoming a policy and lawmaker.
Yeah.
So lots of excitement because there's so many different places that you can go with a public health degree.
Maybe the only thing good that ever came out of a pandemic is to make us realize what we weren't doing and what we needed. And these two folks are engaged in something that we really need. Up on screen, carolinau.edu is the general website. Thanks for both of you doing this.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
We'll be right back. Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable. Quick shout out and thanks to the good folks here at the Senior Botanical Garden. Check out their website, come and visit the garden. You can do all sorts of events here, and we hope you will. Again, before we get to the roundtable, a couple sad notes to report. Last week, our friend, a lot of us really love this lady, Jeannie Robertson, passed away age 77. She was on Triad Today several times, a great humorist, a former Miss North Carolina, and you can't replace her, but you can go and watch her stuff on YouTube. Great lady. Also, a friend of mine passed away, not necessarily recently. He passed away at the end of last year during the pandemic. His memorial service, Jack Markham's memorial service, is coming up on September 4th. I mentioned that because back in the day when I was actually working for television stations, he was the best boss I ever had. He spent almost 30 years at Channel 2 in Greensboro, WFNY, and was responsible for all the local programming and really gave me a chance to do all sorts of things and spread my wings and try things and do programs. And I wouldn't be around here if it wasn't for Jack Markham. He was 93 years old. All right, guys, let's get to the round table. Ogie Overman on the right, but always the political left. And back behind us, we have held over David Daggett from his previous segment talking about that great backpack program, and then Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, the COVID variant is spreading so fast that a primary physician in Alabama now refuses to see any patient who isn't vaccinated. Are you okay with a doctor not seeing unvaccinated patients, Ogie?
I am, Jim, but I wanted to mention, echo what you said about Jeannie Robertson. She was a dear, dear friend of mine, and her husband, Jerry, just passed away a few months ago.
That's right.
I didn't know until right then that she had died.
Great lady.
But yeah, I have no problem with it, seeing that. Heck with it.
I don't know, from a legal standpoint, David, what do you think? Is it
Well,
okay?
I think that story is actually a little bit deeper than that. And I think that one of the concerns the doctor had is he doesn't want the contaminated people coming into his office because he's got other people in his office that he's caring for. And he wants to care for his patients. He doesn't want to see his patients die unnecessarily. I think he should be allowed to do that. And I think the vaccine, despite the debates and everything else, it's pretty common knowledge now, particularly now that we have a full approval, you should get the vaccine.
Right. Keith, is it okay, you think, for a doctor to not see patients unless they're vaccinated?
Absolutely not. I don't think it's okay. I think that people need to go into the doctor's office. Many times they're being educated on the issues that's going on, and I think
wear a mask
and move forward. I don't think it's okay for them to do that.
One Triad area company, I'm not going to mention their name, there are a couple, but one in particular has given its employees 30 days to get vaccinated or else they're gone. State of Montana says this kind of thing is discriminatory and they're not allowing it. I don't know if that's going to spread around to other states. Anyway, do you think that employees who, let's say, ostensibly get fired or have to leave because they will not get a vaccine, do they have any legal recourse? Will they try to, do you think that we're going to see litigation? Ogie?
Possibly, but I'm for the employer axing them. I've gotten really hardcore about this thing, Jim. It's time to get facts.
Are we going to see a lot of lawsuits of people that might lose their job?
Now, under the current state of the law in North Carolina, there's not a cause of action for that. Now, if the state or the feds would step in with some sort of legislative or regulatory protections, maybe. I don't think that's likely to happen. I don't think it's likely to happen in North Carolina. There's no case there.
Keith Granberry.
There's going to be, if there's no federal mandate, there will probably be lawsuits. I don't know how successful they are, but you use Montana in a sentence, and I don't understand Montana and vaccination in any sentence that you should be using.
The people in Montana will vaccinate their cows in Montana, but they won't vaccinate their kids.
I don't understand that statement.
The airline industry reports a spike in violent behavior, 300% up since the pandemic began. Violent behavior by passengers, and they now are finally admitting that alcohol is a factor. So American Airlines, for example, stopped serving any alcohol. They said they might resume it next year. Now, we know that a lot of passengers drink before they get on. So we got two things going here: the alcohol, the bad behavior, and COVID is spreading too. Guys, would you like to see all passengers submit to a temperature check for COVID and a breathalyzer test before boarding? Ogie?
No, temperature check is fine, but if you've been drinking and you get on the plane and want to keep drinking, you're going to get mad if you can't get another drink. I duct tape them all. I just duct tape them. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, Jim.
I think you can have a temperature check and safety precautions. Regarding the alcohol, that's a really interesting issue. I have a friend who's a flight attendant, just spoke with her earlier this week, and she says it's a concern for her going to work because she knows there's a significant chance of some violent behavior.
Right.
I think what we need is some enforcement in that, put some teeth into it, and start deterring this behavior before it happens.
Keith, a breathalyzer and a temperature check. What do you think?
Temperature check, yes. No breathalyzer. I think, number one, you need to have more security on the planes. I think people's behavior is not because of alcohol. It's because of a lot of varied things that are going on in their life right now based on this COVID. But I would have more security on the planes.
All right, Davidson College just created a Black Studies course titled #AbolishPolice. Not surprisingly, many Charlotte area police officers are angry and offended by this. Should Davidson College cancel the course, retitle it, or leave it as is? Ogie?
Another Trump-Luddite Republican candidate for office gets his wings.
So you think
every time?
You think they ought to leave it alone?
That's absurd. And I love Davidson. I love that college. They're progressive. They're great. But that's absurd.
All right.
I don't like it. I would have to know more about it. Lots of times, college professors give an inflammatory name to their course to attract students to look into the course. And in fact, the course may have exactly the opposite theme and agenda to it. But do I like it? No, I don't like it.
Keith, what do you think?
I think the professor who named it probably lives in a neighborhood that don't need police. He probably lives in a very safe, secure neighborhood. That's what I believe. So I think it's crazy.
Professor Whitebread.
That's exactly right. So I think that we we shouldn't be abolishing any police
All
right
right,
now.
very quickly, Greensboro City Councilperson Michelle Kennedy resigned last week, and one day later, she accepted a job as director of the city's Neighborhood Development Department. Nothing wrong with that, nothing illegal, but quickly, guys, are you okay with an elected official who's overseeing the government step down and take a job with that same government, or should there be a waiting period?
No, that happens all the time, Jimmy. I know her. She's great. She'll do wonderful in that.
David?
Yeah, as long as you have a process to confirm it's a valid hire, I'm fine with it. You're probably getting the best people that way.
Yeah, Keith?
I'm not fine with that. Sometimes people lose their jobs and then they're looking at other people's position and they have the authority to get rid of those people. I'm not fine with that.
I
They
think
need
it
to
should
be a waiting period.
Okay, finally, last week, a Florida man came home to discover a naked woman swimming in his pool. He immediately called the police, had her arrested. Guys, if you found a woman skinny dipping in your swimming pool, would you have her arrested, Ogie?
I'd ask her if she's got any friends.
David, would you have her arrested?
I'd send her to Ogie's pool.
Keith, what would you do?
What would I do? I'm speechless.
The first time ever.
Yeah, we know what that is all about. All right, that's all the time we have. Except for this. Sadly, the creator of the popular puzzle Sudoku passed away last week. Now, I understand there's problems in arranging for the actual funeral service because a lot of people don't know which row to sit in. See, in Sudoku, you have those rows. You have to, never mind. We're going to David's pool after this, so we'll see you next week.